Hello, everyone. We are going to just get started. I'm going to do a quick little introductory, talk about a few things for the first few minutes, and then we'll jump into the panel. So let me focus on the presentation here. So you should see a PowerPoint. And so today we're doing the MSP panel, and this is a panel of Microsoft employees and interns. And so this is for the MSPs hosting their workshops on campuses, but anybody and everybody is welcome to view and participate in the conversation that we're having. So just so you know, the session will be recorded, so please keep that in mind when you're posting in the Q&A. And I will send out a link to download this and to watch this later to the MSPs coordinating your viewing parties or to the Facebook event or wherever the links needs to go. So it will be publicly available, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so the agenda for the panel is 1 hour. We're going to try to wrap it up about 7:30. The first half is there's a couple of questions that we already have planned. We're going to go around the panel and answer those, and the last half will be open to any questions that you guys may be interested. And so the focus here is on technology or our personal experiences to working at Microsoft or interning at Microsoft, our areas of technology that we're interested in, and just we're here to help answer any questions that you may have. So below the video, you should see a chat window. It's a Q&A window. You can ask your questions there. If you are attending an MSP workshop, then you'll want to maybe coordinate and figure out MSP can share the links so everybody can view the video and ask questions on their own, or the MSP can pull all the questions together and type them up. So however you want to do that is no problem. You'll also see a pulse window. It's either going to be right next to the Q&A on the right, or it's going to be to the far right of the video. And so there's going to be a question every now and then, just pulsing kind of the rating of how the session is going, and feel free to vote on the overall rating of the current session. I think it pulls every 5 minutes or something. Just a fun little thing. So if you are curious about Microsoft careers, here's a bunch of links for you. The best place to go is careers.microsoft.com. You'll see all the full-time positions that are available, internships that are available, everything. There's also links to the student programs that they have that I've also listed here on the slide. There's a number of internship type programs that you can do while you're in college. And also, if you know anybody at the high school level, there's a program for that too. The Explore program is usually for, I want to say, freshmen and sophomores, kind of a get to know Microsoft and get to know what it's like to work in tech. And then, of course, there's internships that are full-scale summer internships, and scholarships are available. And so for full-time positions, if you're curious, there is the mock program that is basically it's a full-time job, and it's a 2-year-long program that you'll sign up for, and you get a number of training opportunities and classroom type sessions so that you kind of transition into the workforce while still in like a college type program. So you're surrounded with all your peers, but you get full-time benefits, full-time pay, everything. And you also get promoted very quickly, from what I hear. So I do have to mention that we are not recruiters here. We're not going to be able to speak on the official recruiting policies that are in place at Microsoft. If you are curious about anything official or want to contact somebody within Microsoft to ask questions about careers, please reach out to your recruiter. You can find them on one of those sites. Careers.microsoft.com is probably the go-to one, or the student program site. I also have listed here a career bot, which is a fun bot that one of our team members made at Microsoft, and so you can ask it all sorts of questions. So feel free to try it out, knock yourself out. The Microsoft Imagine Cup is a huge global competition. It's like a hackathon, but you get a lot more time to develop your projects. So you can apply now if the deadline hasn't closed already. So if you've worked on any sort of startup or have an idea, the application is super duper quick, and then you have all the way up until the actual cup to work on your project. So, and this is an opportunity to win cash, win thousands of dollars, literally, prizes, travel, trips to conferences. I know people that have won Surface books and tablets for going to this competition, even if they didn't win. It's pretty great. And so if you're interested in hackathons or any sort of like, I'm in school, want to make money kind of stuff, I strongly encourage you to check that out. It's a lot of fun too. So the reason that we're able to put on this panel for you is the Microsoft Student Partner Program, which is available at that long link, or you could just look it up and it's probably the first thing you'll find. So what you get through that is leadership experience. So you host a workshop at your school, and if you're in the viewing party, you're in the workshop right now, and you do this once a month, and at the end of the year, at the end of the school year, you'll get a stipend in the US. You get an opportunity to put all these workshops on your resume, and you get exclusive access to different kinds of toys, Microsoft products, technologies, mentorship, all sorts of fun things. And so if you're interested in that program, please check that out. And you can talk to your MSP if they are hosting this panel right now and get their full experience on how the program is. So I know there's a few places that students will be graduating out of. Georgia Tech is one of them. So if you want to be an MSP, feel free to look into the application process and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, thank you for letting me go through a few things, and thank you for joining the workshop today. So this is our panel. We have Amanda Lang, Mustafa, Amanda H., Oleg, and myself. I am Kristen Ottafy, and I can put my video on for now. So hello, everyone. The first thing we're going to do is just go around and introduce ourselves. So guys, would you please be able to share with us who you are, what your name is, what's your current status at Microsoft, how many times have you been at Microsoft, are you interning, full-time employee, what's your role, that kind of stuff. Amanda Lang, you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. So hi everybody, my name is Amanda Lang. Sorry, my lighting is very harsh in this room, but hopefully you can sort of see me. How are you? Good. So I'm good. How are you? I know you can't actually speak back, so hopefully you'll a bit coffee. Okay. So I am Amanda. I have been at Microsoft for about 3 years now. I started at Microsoft about the same time that Satya Nadella became CEO, so around that time. And I'm a full-time employee. I do the same job that Kristen does, which I am a technical evangelist. I actually live in Philadelphia, so it's a remote work job. You know, I work from home some days. I work from our local office some other days. I work from hotels some days, and I enjoy it quite a bit. Was there a second? Was there a fault? Was there another question there, or just that's just the first one?
That's it. Name, role,
right, cool.
That type of stuff. I'll just go down the lineup here I have in the panel. Mustafa, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Mustafa Al-Zavbi. I'm a technical evangelist. I'm the same team with Amanda and Kristen. I have been with Microsoft for 2 years. You know, we work all over the place. We work, it's a remote job, as Amanda mentioned. So we do a lot of work with partners, customers, and events and communities. This is pretty much what we're doing. Anything more than this, Kristen?
That's great.
Okay.
Amanda H.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. So I apologize that my webcam's not working, so you just see a black box. But so I am currently a 5th-year student at Georgia Tech. I'm studying industrial engineering, and last summer I interned with Microsoft at the headquarters in Redmond as a service engineer, and I'll be returning as a full-time program manager in Xbox after I graduate in May.
Awesome.
Sweet. Oleg.
Hey, I'm a fourth-year Georgia Tech student. I interned with Microsoft last summer on the OneDrive SharePoint team. It was awesome. I'm hopefully gonna graduate this May and starting full-time at Microsoft sometime in the summer.
Super cool. You guys are rock stars. And I'm Kristen Ottafy, also technical evangelist. I've been here for a little over a year. And I was actually a high school teacher before I did this. Studied computer science at the University of Georgia, go Dogs. We'll jump into the next question then. What is your area of focus, be it field of study or technology specialization? Amanda?
So I've had a pretty long career and I've done a lot of different things. I started out doing a lot of game development. My background is actually in 3D animation. So I did stuff like technical art, and I was doing a lot of game dev. I moved into doing mobile game dev. Had some games on various phone devices that I worked with a small team. And then now I'm moving a little bit more into cloud, particularly IoT, and now I'm focusing a little more on cognitive services and conversations, which is Microsoft's new bots framework. So I have a bunch of different things that I work with, but my background is very front-end kind of focused, and I'm interested in stuff that has exciting interfaces, like either be it like a physical interface or a chat interface, something like that. So that's kind of the unifying theme.
Yeah, and I know Amanda's working on some really cool projects right now, or she has some up her sleeve. Mustafa?
So for myself, I have been in the IT field for almost 14 years. So I did a bachelor degree in a computer science, and then I did also a master degree in computer science. Since day one, I just have been in software development. I did a lot of Windows development, and the first 2 years after I graduated from the computer science, and then after Windows development, I moved to the web development. So I have been doing web development more than my focus area, basically, an enterprise application development. I have been working through different companies, building products. Some of them it's based on open source technology, some of them based on Microsoft, but it's more about enterprise application development, Microsoft stack technologies. My area of expertise, basically design and architecture for software development. In the last 4 to 5 years, I have been doing big data analytics and machine learning. So I have studied a lot of stuff that I haven't done when I was doing my master's. So took a lot of online courses to do a big transition from pure software development to a new paradigm, working with a lot of data, unstructured data, analytics, and machine learning. That's all.
It's incredible. Amanda?
Cool. So, as I said earlier, I'm actually studying industrial engineering in school. I do not have a background in computer science at all. In fact, I'd probably say that the most exposure I got to computer science was actually at my internship, where I really had to code for the first time outside of classes. And so my field of study, it's more like engineering, operations, research, manufacturing, probably very different than most of the people here. But I will say that engineering and technical concepts do kind of, they can relate throughout all the different engineering disciplines.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I love your story too of not being the computer science major, but still landing the gig at Microsoft.
Definitely not.
Oleg? You're on mute.
Okay, I'm not on mute now. So as for me, I'm just a computer science major. I'm most of the stuff I do, and my focus in school is on AI stuff. So it's machine learning, computer vision kind of stuff. I'm also one of the, not one of the, I'm a head teaching assistant for one of the classes as well. Intro to AI. So I would say it's very different from what I did at my internship, but despite that, it was still really amazing. So.
That's so cool. Yeah, chatbots and AI, and I mean that field is just exploding. Machine learning, it's incredible. So, would you guys tell us what has been your path? So, I don't know, maybe was there something when you were really young that inspired you to go into technology? How did you end up getting to this point where you're interning or working at Microsoft, and any, I don't know, any sort of thing that caught your eye when you were going through, what am I going to do when I get older, that kind of stuff? Amanda L.
Sure. Well, I'm first of all going to preface this by saying you don't have to have been a geek your whole life to get a job doing geek stuff, although I kind of was a geek my whole life. I kind of cut my teeth programming on the Commodore 64, writing BASIC, and then decided that I really wanted to learn how to make websites, so I taught myself how to make websites. And I modded Doom a lot as a kid, trying to take Doom apart and figure out how to change graphics and levels and so forth. So it was a natural progression for me to sort of like want to do game art after learning all of those skills. And I decided I don't have a computer science degree either in my undergrad. I actually have a computer animation degree. So I was an artist specifically, but I was interested in how code and art kind of speak to each other, how you can write code and then have it generate beautiful things, which I know is very weird, but I'm interested in procedural things and stuff that kind of happens when you marry code and art. So sort of a strange background, I know, but it's fun for me. And I do I have a lot of different hobbies that sort of tie into that. After school, I actually got a master's degree. My master's degree is in digital media. And that was where I learned to code a few other different languages, some PHP. I was doing a lot of ActionScript, which is no longer really relevant, but you learn the skills, even if the code type itself is not something that gets used a lot anymore. It's just how it goes. And then moved on to work for a couple of small companies. So I moved into the Philadelphia/Reading, PA area a few years ago. I was previously teaching, so I moved from having a master's to teaching game development, taught Unity 3D and a couple of the animation packages, particularly 3D Studio Max. And then I moved into making some small projects for small game companies. I worked for a company called Shell Games that's in Pittsburgh, PA, just for a quick contract, and I was helping them out with a website and doing community management. And then from there, got into the conversation with Microsoft about doing the evangelism, because community and evangelism kind of go hand in hand, and I already kind of had that background. So kind of a long story. The funny thing is that if it wasn't for having gone to a game jam, which if you've never heard of a game jam, it's like a game hackathon, I would never have met the Microsoft Technical Evangelists. So when I met the Microsoft Technical Evangelist that was local, and she said she was moving to a different position, that was how I discovered that this position was open to apply for. So jumping ahead, I know we're going to talk a little about hackathons later, but highly recommend those kind of events, because you never know who you might meet and what you might learn there. So.
Definitely agree there. Yeah, that's wonderful. Mustafa.
Sure. So my story is totally different. By the way, I'm so impressed with Amanda's background. Every time I meet her,
right? Yeah.
No. Every time I meet Amanda, I tell her, and that's one of the, by the way, that's one of the key points and what makes Microsoft different. Like, if you can get 5 people that work for the same team, every person will have a different background. And we really like, people with a different background and very diversified background, because it really makes, anything that we work on very helpful and very useful for our customers. So I'm very impressed with Amanda's background. My background is totally different. So I get in touch with Microsoft when I was on my last year before I graduated in my undergrad. In school, they just teach us in our days. I graduated in 2003. So we were just the school was teaching us C++ and Java. So we were very proficient in building stuff in C++ and Java. But in the last year before I graduate, I get to know .NET when it was in beta. And then I start doing some beta work using .NET. And then I decided, me and other three friends, that we're gonna do our graduation project in .NET. Microsoft caught this project because it was one of the first .NET projects that will be done as a graduation project, and basically they asked us to sponsor our project. So we did something that at that time didn't exist as part of our .NET framework. I like security, so I built something, a kind of security layer in web services. At that time, we call web services extensions. And then I graduated from the college. I got the option to work with C++, Java jobs versus .NET. I picked .NET because I know the future will be for .NET. I started my career with .NET, moved, working in multiple companies. I worked in different countries even before I moved to US. And then after a few years, literally 2 or 3 years after I graduated, Microsoft picked me as one of their Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals. I don't know if you heard about of this award or not. It basically Microsoft picks certain professionals and they give them this award as an MVP in a certain competency. So I was in a C# competency because I was just a C# developer. And then I start kind of evangelizing to the .NET technology overall for 5 consecutive years, from 2009 all the way to 2011. And yeah, just I moved on a few years, and then after maybe 4 or 5 years after being an MVP, I just joined Microsoft, even though at that time I wasn't planning to join Microsoft. It just happened. It was just something exciting. I said, let me just try it out. That's pretty much what I'm passionate about. I do a lot of web development till this point. I still focus on large scale enterprise applications, but this is pretty much what I have been doing, especially even after I joined Microsoft.
Amazing. You guys just blow it out of the water. It's incredible. Amanda H.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, I don't know how to follow those up. Okay. So I guess my Microsoft story. So I honestly really just stumbled into it. I knew that going into my 4th year, I knew that last summer's internship would be like my last one before graduating. So I knew that was going to be really important. And I had prior co-op experience, like at Georgia Tech, co-oping is a very popular thing to do. And I knew that I wanted to work in a different industry because, like, as an industrial engineer, we do a lot of, you can really work anywhere, but a lot of it is focused in operations, supply chain, and manufacturing. And I was like, let me try something different. And at the time, I just happened to have a lot of friends who were working in tech. And so that's kind of where my interest peaked. And honestly, knowing that like my background was going to be very different than all the, I guess, computer science peers of mine, I was like, let me just apply online and see what happens. And so I literally applied on the Microsoft Careers website and got an interview from there. And so there's 2 interview rounds. Like the first one is the phone interview, and then the second one is when you get flown out to do the interview at headquarters. And so I just remember the whole entire time I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what's going on? I got to the second round interviews and they asked me to code, like whiteboard code. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do that. And they're like, it's okay. Honestly, that was such a scary experience, but I had the best interviewers and they were like, like coding, like you can learn the language of coding, but really we want to know how you solve problems. And so they actually redid my entire interview so that it was in a format that I could solve and show them like my knowledge and skills in a different way.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was really great. It was honestly all on accident. I'm literally, I think when I started freshman year, my first CS class that I took was actually MATLAB, and that was because I started out as a biomedical engineer, and so that's like the coding language we learned. And that scarred me for life. Like I thought I hated coding. So going into the internship was really interesting, but definitely having those 3 months in the summer to just focus on coding. And I actually did code in .NET, so I actually know what you're talking about now. I really learned a lot and learned that coding's kind of fun after being scarred for like 4 years of my college career.
Oh.
So,
Yay! It's a good turnaround.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love a happy ending. Oleg?
Mine was somewhat actually scarily similar. So I went into my third year of school. By then, I interned at 2 companies, and I was actually interning at my second company during the semester. I was interviewing part time while taking classes as well, and I didn't have time to go to career fair, so I was like, well, might as well just apply online if I don't get to go. So I applied online. Um, then I had first round of interviews on campus. I don't remember what question it was very untypical. That's all I remember. After that first round, I thought I failed because it didn't really go that well in my opinion, but turns out it did. So then we went on to on-campus interviews, and this time by on-campus I don't mean on Georgia Tech campus, I mean on Microsoft campus in Redmond. So I got flown out. There were interviews. This time it was more typical whiteboard coding interviews, uh, just standard graph search kind of problem, your typical stuff. So after that, I had to wait 2 weeks. I was really nervous, but turned out I got an internship, and it was with a OneDrive SharePoint team with the guys I was interviewing with. So I was pretty hyped about it, since the interviewers seemed to be really great guys. They knew what they were talking about. Their overall, what they told me about the kind of work they do, how they do it, it just seemed so great. So I was pretty hyped, and I was happy to learn that it turned out to be the case. So
That's great. That's good to hear. So that's interesting that so my path was very, I feel, traditional. Let me switch videos here. So well, it was traditional in a way that, so I studied computer science in school, and then I studied a master's in math education. And then I taught high school for 2 years, and then I decided to go into industry. And so I actually went back and I went to career fairs, and I started taking online courses, anything that I could do to, get back into the current level of where technology was after my 2 years. I was still doing some stuff during the 2 years, but it definitely, when I went to the career fair and I just started throwing my resume out like it was candy, like, you take one, you take one. I ended up with a ton of interviews and offers, actually. And I actually, I did attend the Microsoft booth, but they were looking for mock program people, and I was too old at that point to do the mock program. So I did not actually get the job at Microsoft from a career fair, but I did meet somebody at a conference. And so I'm so glad Amanda mentioned the Game Jam earlier, because networking was absolutely like the way that I got to where I am today. So cool stories, guys. You all come from different backgrounds, kind of had different experiences. So that's really neat. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and it's 7:01. So guys, if you want to start asking questions in the Q&A window, we can begin to answer those. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep asking all the questions. So please let me know if there's anything you actually want to know about, and we'll get those questions answered. And we're pretty open, if you want to know more about us or more about specific technologies, please feel free to ask pretty much anything. So hackathons. What do you guys think about hackathons? Do you have any advice for when you're at a hackathon? And what about mentoring a hackathon? Thoughts, anything really?
You want me to start up again? I have a
Sure.
lot of feelings about hackathons, and
Yay,
I
good.
will add also. Will add also that it is terrific to hear everyone's story, and I love the fact that we have some people on here that have traditional-ish computer sciencey paths, and other people that have paths that are not computer science, but still kind of got you to that same place. Just because I like the variety and the different perspectives that people bring to the table. That's so valuable, I think, in a team.
Definitely.
And so hackathons, I did a lot of game jams before I did hackathons. And so I think of the two as similar but different in a lot of ways. Every year there's something called the Global Game Jam, which is a hackathon specifically to create games. And that happens around January time. And they give you like a prompt. They tell you the secret theme, and then you don't know what it's going to be until you actually get to the event. So it's kind of like you get the theme, then you have to figure out what kind of game you're going to make, and you have to form teams right there on the spot. And it's but what I've always loved about that event, and most of the game jams I've been to, is they're not real competitive. They're actually a lot more about the learning and the teamwork. And if you've never made anything before and you just want to learn something about the process, you can still show up and like group up with the team. And when I do hackathons, I gravitate more toward those ones that are very learning focused and very creative versus the ones that are really competitive. I think just because I like the feeling of camaraderie that comes about when people aren't really in competition with each other in a hardcore sort of way, and instead are just sort of there to learn and grow from each other's work. Absolutely volunteer to mentor if you're comfortable doing that, and absolutely lean on mentors when you're at a hackathon. I feel like the purpose of a hackathon is to just make something outside your comfort zone, something outside of the box, something new and different. And I think that, sometimes with prizes and that I don't know, that feeling of experiment and learning can sometimes get lost. So I've always focused more on what did I make and what did I bring home and who did I meet there that can teach me future things. And that's my feeling about what you should get out of a hackathon. And I've seen many beautiful and cool hackathons. Just a couple weeks ago, I was a judge at a hackathon where it was all music focused. So any hack had to be music related. There was a Spotify API, there was IoT devices that played music. It was super cool. And that kind of creative spirit is what I go to hackathons for.
I love it. I'm like over here nodding so much. I'm like, yes, I like that. I love that. Totally agree with that. So that's super awesome.
Okay, so about me, I think what I want to add, I will try to add a different perspective on things than what Amanda mentioned. So I think the hackathon, let me tell you, before, when I was in the college, we used not to have a hackathon, but we used to do it in one of my friend's house. We used to meet maybe once or twice a month and just try something new, and we stay all over till like 4 or 5 a.m., try to develop or code something. It's a geeky way of the hackathon. It's the same way because you want to build something, you don't know how to build it, and you just challenge yourself and your friends. Let's say we used to meet like 9 or 10 p.m. and start coding till like 4 or 5 a.m. until we get tired and you just crash. So the hackathon, it's a new thing. We used to do it in a different way. We used not to call it hackathon, but it's just a group of friends. They have an idea and they want to basically start building it. So I think that the only thing that I would like to share with everyone here is usually go with a group of people that you don't know. You're going to learn a lot of things. First of all, you're going to develop certain skills like working with people you haven't met before, or they are not part of your team, or you're not your friends, and you're going to have a different perspective and even a different experience than the group that you usually work with. When I was in the college, I wasn't doing this, but I learned a lot working with strangers and people I haven't met before. And maybe at Microsoft, we have this opportunity where you work with people. For example, last hackathon, we have people like 4 or 5 people in from different four countries. They are working in one group. We're trying to solve one problem. So it basically develop a lot of other skills other than your technical skills. I think this is the only thing I would like to share with everyone.
Spot on there too. Yeah, this is great input. Amanda H, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll say, so I've actually been to a couple hackathons. We have a really big one on campus called HackGT, and they also have a smaller one that the same organization does called HackGTini, which is actually designed specifically for people who don't know how to code. And so their like ratio of mentors to attendees is huge. It's like not competitive. I just went to it a couple weeks ago, and we built a web app to find all the microwaves on campus. So that was really fun. So I've actually been to both. I've been to the one for beginners. I've been to the actual one. I've been to the Microsoft one. So every year Microsoft has a huge like company-wide hackathon called 1 week. It's like a week-long hackathon. So that was really fun. And I'll say, echoing off of everything that like Amanda said and Mustafa said, it's all true. Like it's such a good learning experience. And I think the biggest thing that I hear from my friends about like being afraid to go to hackathons is that they're afraid to go with like the seasoned hackers, like the people who go to hackathons all the time, like every weekend. But honestly, the community is so great. Like even if you don't know how to code and you're sitting next to someone who is amazing and made some crazy like app that has sold in the App Store with like millions of downloads, they'll want to help you out. And so it's a really great experience. And especially, I think the environment of like the college hackathon is really special. So I would say take advantage of that while you're still in school.
Yeah, totally. And I want to add on the 1 week hackathon, there's also a good bit of hacking for good kind of stuff that is involved with that too. And so if you're interested in philanthropy type hacking, that's a good one to check out. Oleg?
So my opinion is slightly different, and I'm gonna go a bit against the grain here. I think hackathons are
Awesome.
great by hackathons I mean hackathons and what they are these days. It's meeting people, all this stuff. That's what they're great for, and this is particularly the reason why I don't really like it, because I went to a few, and my experience was that there are some people who actually try to build something cool, and I'm not trying to talk about myself. Not There's plenty of other people who do better than me, but they try to build something cool. But what you can see is that most of the people are just walk around, and then especially it's prevalent at hackathons with big prizes and stuff. What I noticed is that some would just build another like Tinder for cats or something like that, slapping together a few pre-made frameworks and stuff and win the prize. So, and I'm more into like difficult problem solving and stuff. So instead, I just graduated eventually to doing similar stuff to what Mustafa has described. Just gathering with friends, hacking, working on some stuff. That's how I do it now. But the idea behind this is pretty cool.
I love it. I love the devil's advocate kind of play there. It's perfect in a panel. So I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. So maybe it's not working. MSPs, if you have my number, you can text me or you can email me as well. And I'm just going to do a quick check before we move on. Nope, don't see any new emails. So we're going to keep going down my list of questions. Please feel free to jump in, ask any questions anytime. So where can we find more information about you, panelists? Twitter, blog, GitHub, LinkedIn. What are you on? What are you most active on? Where can we go and learn about what you're up to?
So I'm really active on Twitter. My Twitter is Second Truth, which is kind of a weird one, but I've had that URL since I was a wee one, so I've just kept it this whole time. And secondtruth.com. It's got an underline on the Twitter, but not on the website. So if you want to send those out later to emails or whatever, that's good. My GitHub is AJ Lang. That's a little bit easier to remember, maybe. And I've been fairly active on there recently because I'm working on some projects. So. But I think the easiest place to find me is probably Twitter. If you want to just reach out, I'm pretty available.
That's great. And I will compile a list of everybody's information that you say here and send that out as well.
Awesome.
Mustafa?
Yeah, I think that for me, I mean, I'm a social person, so you can find me on LinkedIn with my first name, last name, or GitHub, or Twitter, or Facebook. I think if you go to my blog, which is Mustafa.rocks, it has all my information. So you can connect with me. If you'll see an email, you'll see my Twitter. I mean, yeah, it's really easy. If you Google any of us, you'll be able to find the kind of information.
Perfect. Amanda H.
Cool. Yeah. So this panel is like all Georgia Tech students, right?
No.
Oh no. Okay. Just kidding.
It's yeah, it's possibly anywhere in the world.
Oh, okay. I guess for me, probably LinkedIn would be the easiest way. So just look up my name.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oleg.
Yeah, same LinkedIn. I don't have a super active Twitter. I'm just mostly consuming information there. So it's LinkedIn, and I guess an email, because I recently graduated to a real adult email, not Georgia Tech email, and it's oleg@danger.cd. So I
Nice.
wanted danger.zone, but it's taken. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, not that you didn't get danger.zone, but so I am everywhere. I'm on pretty much everything. So it's my name, Kristen Ottafy, all one word. Twitter, GitHub is actually K Ottafy, but I'm also on LinkedIn. Everything is Kristen Ottafy or K Ottafy. So we do have a question from the audience, guys. Interns, I'm not sure if you'll know the answer, but the question is about MVP. What does it mean to be an MVP? How you become an MVP? And so an MVP is a most valued professional, Microsoft most valued professional. And so this is a program that you can be a part of by being kind of a leader in your community. And so a lot of times the MVPs will host meetups and speak at conferences, or they have a blog, or they've written a book, or they're connected to the Microsoft community, the local Microsoft community, or national. So there's also the regional director who is more broadly known than an MVP. So Amanda, Mustafa, do you want to share some more about the MVP program?
I'm gonna punt to Mustafa on this one because he actually was an MVP, so he has better insight.
Yeah.
So let me. I can tell you it's really simple. I mean, some people think as the MVP is really hard to get. The only thing to be an MVP, and the way how even we look and we try to recruit MVP as a Microsoft employee, is to love what you're doing. If you love what you're doing and you are really excellent at what you're doing, Microsoft will find you and will offer you the MVP status. So let's say if you are into mobile development or open source development, or you have tons of, let's say you have a couple of projects, one of these projects have been downloaded 10 times or has been forked 500 times or 300 times. We look for these people. We look for people who influence the community with good work that helps others. It could be, by the way, a project that helps students. It doesn't need to be professional. So if you love what you're doing in every space, from web development, mobile development, DevOps, IoT, machine learning, big data, analytics, and you name it, if you love what you're doing, you're excellent at what you're doing, you share a lot of your code, your work, your experience, and you're a type of person that you like to talk to people and share your experience, Microsoft will find you and will offer you the MVP status. Yes, it's a competition, so usually we get the best of the best, and it's an annual program where you have to be active in the community. So when I say active, it could be anything. So let me tell you a very tough situation. When I was doing my master's, I was doing my master's in Iowa, where I didn't have anything around me when it comes to the community. So the way I was contributing to the community, I was very active blogging and sharing a lot of content. And I've even worked with Microsoft in localizing one of its products, even when I was in Iowa. So you can do any kind of contribution. The community, if you are in an area where it's very rich in the community and you like to connect with the community leaders or organizer and you want to speak, in a lot of events, that's fine. But even if you are in an area where you don't have a lot of community or you don't have a lot of interest, in what you're doing, you can share your content, your work through blogging, through GitHub, through sharing your work in a different network, and people will find you. Contributor, if I find your code that really helps me in building what I'm doing, I will connect with you, and I will definitely offer you something like this. So it doesn't matter. You need to have an active community around you. You can just share your code in GitHub, in your blog, keep your blog active in the trends and what you like to do. I think this is what. And yes, you can apply online, but usually we prefer that we pick the people that we really see the value that they bring to the community. I hope this is a clear and useful kind of how to become an MVP. Just love what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, isn't that true for everything, though?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all the time, and sometimes you just maybe work is different. But
Yeah.
MVP, you pick what you like to do in your, let's say you are working in a 9 to 5 job. Let's say you are working as a web developer. Let me just simplify it. But I see myself as a mobile developer. So I keep learning things and share some tips around mobile development in my blog. After a while, maybe a year or two, I'll become like expert in what I'm doing. Let's say I pass a couple of exams, I share this knowledge with others, and then I keep, sharing my experience with others. So I will transition from being a web developer to mobile developer. So people will recognize your expertise, and you can be selected as an MVP.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mustafa.
Yeah.
Oleg, do you have any experience with the MVP program?
I don't think so. What is an MVP program?
Yeah, nah.
Okay.
No worries. I think Mustafa covered it really well. So we've got some questions in from the audience, and thank you guys so much. I'm not sure if the Q&A window is working, so I apologize for that. I'm not seeing questions there. Just so you know, you can go to the link aka.ms/MSP panel to view the video and the Q&A window, aka.ms/MSP panel. So I'm getting texts and Slack messages, which is phenomenal. But to be honest, guys, these are questions that are very specific that a recruiter should probably answer for specific majors and exactly what positions are available in the mock program. I can look those up really fast and let you know. I think there are more services. There are a few technical evangelist mock positions available. And if that's something you're interested, we can try to get a mock TE to come into another panel. I know there are positions for support. Okay, I got it here. Marketing, sales, services, evangelism, operations, IT. So I encourage you to just dive deeper into that. I do want to let you know that Amanda H. did have to run. She had a prior obligation. She had to go at 7:15. I got another question here. Okay, I got a question about, are there any opportunities for students who have only taken 1 or 2 CS classes? Again, I would refer to a recruiter on that kind of question. You can always check out the Explorer program or the internship. Definitely, if you're looking to go into technology full-time, go to conferences, hackathons, anything you can do, study online, anything that will give you stuff to add to your resume or build your network. So that's all I really want to say.
I'll speak up real quick too. Like as like I'm not a recruiter and I'm not in their brains and I don't know exactly what they're looking for. But I didn't major in computer science, and I mentioned that specifically because I think that occasionally it's important to let that be known that it's possible to do it as an elective, and I did it on the side. So I mean, it was part of my degree rather than like all of my degree. So if you are a good coder and you have the skills, it matters less which specific classes you took. And one thing that I know just from my many years of like doing teaching and everything is that people will generally look at what projects you did outside of your class for fun, for your passion, rather than what your school assignments or test grades were. So if you do a hackathon or something like that and you make a really cool hack at a hackathon, if you do a project on the side that's an open source project that you love to share and talk about, those are the kind of things that make you stand out more than what grade you got in what class and what assignment it was for. So I always think about it from that perspective, is like, what are you doing? And I know it seems like it's a big pressure because, oh, I'm doing all this stuff for school and then I have to do stuff besides school. But it kind of shows that you've done something aside from what you've been assigned to do. And again, I'm not a recruiter, but that's just advice that I would give any student in any field. Like, show what you're really passionate about, because that's going to make you stand out.
Definitely, yeah.
So I would like to add one thing to what Amanda mentioned. Some people, they just gave up after they applied 5 times, 10 times, and they didn't even get a response or even an email from a recruiter. If you didn't get a response, there's a lot of options. First of all, your email hasn't been directed to the right recruiter, or you are not basically applying for the right job. Or maybe the job that you're applying for, basically, it doesn't fit your skill set. So don't give up, ever. You could apply 2017 and you can get the job next year, or 2019 or 2020. Why? Because what it really matters is you are the best fit to this job. So the only advice that I would like to add to what Amanda mentioned is just never give up because you didn't get a response or an email from a Microsoft recruiter for what you're applying for. Try to learn, try to go to these sessions that Microsoft do in every single metro area to ask about the available jobs and what really fits my positions, because my skill set. Because Microsoft has a really, and sometimes not a standard technical or non-technical titles that may fit your position or your skill set or what you are doing right now in your profession, but actually you don't know about it. So when you search for a consultant or software developer, but we have a lot of other titles that basically maybe match 90% to what you're looking for, but maybe you're not aware of the actual title, the way how we publish it on the career website. This is the only thing I want to add.
Thanks, Mustafa. Yeah, and I will mention too that, you know, Microsoft is a huge organization, so even if you're not interested in computer science or tech-related fields, there's still finance and everything else under the sun available at Microsoft. So, you know, if you have a sudden change in career, Microsoft's pretty accommodating about that kind of stuff too. Thank you guys for your questions on specific classes. And on my end, it looks like the video has frozen, but we'll just keep on going for the last 5 minutes here. I don't see any new, oh, there's a question. Is it possible to get a HoloLens demo at the school? What do you think, guys?
I think you can refer to Amanda. She's more expert on this area.
Yeah, it would potentially be. We were trying to do it. We just have to get the stars to line up, you know, in terms of timing, and if we can get y'all there and get a room and you know, questions about organizing. So yeah, I do work with the HoloLens, so it's pretty fun. If you have questions about it, dev.windows.com/holographic. Or hololens.com.
Yeah, there's some pretty good HoloLens tutorials available there too. Okay, so the video seems to be frozen. but we will continue on. So I guess we'll end it with one last question here. Which one? Are you a fan of open source technology? Why or why not?
Yes,
Amanda?
the answer is yes, and we use internally at Microsoft a lot of open source products and programming. So, for example, you can use Python in our development, and we start using a lot of programming language other than the legacy or the standard Microsoft technologies like .NET technologies, C#, but we do use other technologies in our products. So we learn, even we as a Microsoft staff, we learn new technologies, open source one. For example, if you ask myself, as I learned R and Python in the last couple of years because it's part of what I'm doing. So we do support open source technology, and you can hear Microsoft one of the top organization contributing to open source projects. In addition to, we open source certain products and platforms that we work on at Microsoft.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were.
Whoop, sorry.
I feel. Oh, sorry. Yep, I didn't realize.
I
we were
muted you
gonna-
accidentally. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
Yeah, I mean, I would just second that. I think it's great. I think open source is terrific. Everything I talk about focuses on how do you teach people and how you get people to learn. And if they can look at your code, then they're probably going to learn something from it. So that's one of the reasons I think it's just a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just today I was looking for inspiration on a project I'm working on, and so I'm just browsing CodePen.io, just, I don't know, just browsing. It's all open source, or a lot of it is, and some of it's really fun and exciting and different. So we are at time almost. Is there any? Oh, I'm sorry, Oleg.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I
that's cool.
just got so excited about CodePen. It's all yours, open source.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like it's really, really great. And I like Microsoft. Like a lot. Like one of the main reasons I also like Microsoft is that a lot of stuff. Like the teams use open source, as Mustafa mentioned. The team I worked on used open source, and Microsoft recently has been open sourcing a lot of great stuff that I've seen. What was it, Microsoft Graph, I think, a couple of days ago. It was pretty good, and I mean, using open source in general is great because it gives you the sense of accomplishment. Oh, I contributed to something, like, because you can participate in something that's super great and legendary. You can like tell your kids, oh yeah, I like made a pull request to Python branch, so like, it feels good. You learn a lot of stuff, so.
Totally. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm moving to our last slide here. There is a survey. It's on an Office form, which is pretty sweet. aka.ms/MSP panel survey. It has 3 questions. Anybody can take it. It's open. You don't have to log in or anything. Please fill it out and let us know if this is something we should do again, or things that we can work on. This is my first time with Skype broadcast, so don't be too harsh.
By the way, you are doing an awesome job, I can tell you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Please let us know anything we can improve on, or things that we did really well with here today, questions that you enjoyed, things that you'd like to know more about. It sounds like we need to get some sort of recruiter here to help answer some of these more specific questions, which I will take a note of for next time. I want to give a big thank you to the panelists and Amanda H., who already had to leave. You guys rocked. This was such a fun time. I hope you also enjoyed it. Anything last you want to say?
Just thanks a lot for having me. This has been really good, and you did do a great job keeping everything moderated, so it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing, stop this broadcast, and I will send this out. And as soon as it processes, it might take a couple days. We'll see. And so thank you guys for joining in. Feel free to share this with anyone else, and definitely let us know what you thought. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, broadcast is